It's me, Ari Dossett. The Truman Show. I'm not going to give too many spoilers about the Truman Show. You can watch the movie yourself. But the plot goes like this. You have this guy called Truman. He thinks he has an ordinary life like everyone else. What he's not aware of is that everyone he encountered in his life was an actor that was directed by someone behind the scenes. I mean, even the environment he grew up in was artificial. It all took place in a movie studio. But everything appeared so real to him that he had no idea that his whole life took place in a movie studio. And he was so shocked that he even realized, wait a minute, even the sky above me is fake. Now, the Truman Show is just that. It's just a movie, you would say. But hold on a minute. The Truman Show shows you something about worldly people. Think about the Purge movies. The Purge movies were based on what happened in the state Espírito Santo in Brazil. Now, in Brazil, there was no government secret plan to give permission to the public to go off violently for 3 days, then the military will come and restore it. No. It just happened, due to the police striking, that a lot of people saw an opportunity to offload their negativity, and things went out of hand, and the Brazilian military had to intervene. Now, based on that, the public losing it, they later came up with a movie concept called The Purge. And they made several movies about it. But of course, in the Purge movies, they don't refer to Brazil. They don't refer to the real event. They make up another event saying, the US government, the new founding fathers are going to put a yearly purge so that crime will decrease. So they give a twist to it, as happens to movies all the time. So movies are based on something that actually happened. But of course, the movie is a fictional production, so they will be similar somehow to the real event. But the real event is often not reproduced the same way in a movie. They always give a twist to it. Now, the twist to the Purge movies is that we need to go back to ancient paganism, in which human rights did not exist. Nobody had intrinsic human value as being taught by Christianity and the Bible. Because if you believe everyone has inherent human value because of the Creator, if you tell them the message that the Creator came down in human form, died for their sin, and is risen again, and now the salvation of everyone, if you teach people this, you are showing the depravity of fallen mankind. And once the depravity of fallen mankind is revealed, you also expose the fact we can't help ourselves, and now we need a Savior. But it also will show people that there is another option. Before the arrival of Christ, in the majority of the world, it was scapegoating that people relied on. Here and there, some people want to think seriously, but in general, people relied on scapegoating. Human life did not matter. The group matters. So if the group matters and not the individual human lives, the group consists out of individual human lives. But if the individual lives don't matter, but only the group matters, that means that the group is entitled to victimize, even kill a portion of their own to be at ease. And this is the belief of ancient paganism. And this belief works in the world. However, due to the influence of the gospel, the effect of scapegoating decreased. Because for scapegoating to be effective, everyone must believe in the guilt of the victim. So communities used to purge themselves through organized victimization. And it worked. But it doesn't work anymore. And because the world doesn't want to follow Christ, want to do their own thing, what happens? Scapegoating doesn't work anymore, but they're also not in agreement with Christ, doing the will of the Heavenly Father. So what are they left with? Pollution that keeps increasing and increasing, and once unrest becomes so much, people turn to time bombs going to explode one another. You have chaotic purges everywhere. So, in the movies, The Purge, they show you that just like in ancient times, where there was organized victimization, and it worked out in ease for the whole community, we should bring that back. That is a suggestion that the Purge movie makes. And of course, it used the event in Brazil as, as an inspiration for the Purge movies, but they would argue, okay, what happened in Brazil wouldn't have happened if we had organized victimization in place. So, the Purge movies are a propaganda for organized victimization. Now you may think, okay, Rashid, if the Purge movies are a propaganda for organized victimization or pagan scapegoating, what is the movie, The Truman Show, really about? Well, I'm glad you asked. When you look at The Truman Show, a lot of people are surprised. A lot of people are surprised by the fact that this man was set up his whole life. His whole life was fake. And people tend to empathize with this man, who's played by Jim Carrey. But hold on a minute. Hold on. Let's forget about Truman for a moment. How did this setup work? All the people around Truman were in on it. Think about it. It's called The Truman Show. It was a show. You don't have a show without participants. You need an audience that looks at the show. You need directors that run the show. And you need the actors to participate. So, yeah, there would have been an audience absolutely somewhere, but let's forget about the audience who sees this happen, who's not involved. The actors and directors are involved. Or else you wouldn't have a show. So, why did all those people comply with lying to Truman? What is in it for them? Well, think about it. If you spend years lying to someone, making them believe in a reality that doesn't exist, that's exhausting. It's exhausting to keep up a lie. It's exhausting to continue a hoax for a long time. So there must be some motivation for you to continue. And what was the motivation? Well, at the end of the Truman Show, Truman was so shocked, thinking, whoa, it was all fake. And guess what? Truman appears a bit dumb because he didn't realize it was all fake. So all the other people who continued with the hoax, they get tubing the light. They feel superior to Truman because they realize, how come you didn't notice this? So they feel bad about themselves because in their mind, at least they're not as dumb as Truman, that Truman didn't figure out that everything was fake. So this is a psychological motivation for people to continue. Now, that is the Truman Show. But let's look at daily life. Because just like the Purge movies were based on something real, and now the movie makers turned it into a pagan propaganda, what is the Truman Show showing you? The Truman Show is showing you what society really is. The Truman Show is showing you that the masses are willing to comply with lying, hoaxing, and even setting other people up as long as there's something in it for them. Even if the thing that they will get in return is not a monetary reward, for example, money, even if it's not official recognition or a position of power, when the public gets a pat on the back, when it gets psychologically validated, that is enough motivation for people to collaborate with hoaxing, with lying, and setups. Too often we think, well, if there's a conspiracy somewhere or if there's a plot against someone, but the people that conspire or who are part of it, man, there must be something big in it for them. There must be some money involved. There must be some sexual reward in it. We think very big. But let me tell you, in reality, most people just don't want to be psychologically challenged. Worldlings want ontological security. Ontological security simply means they do not want to be psychologically challenged. They grew up a certain way that shaped how they think and feel, and they want to preserve this. And they're only willing to make adaptations as long as they're not confronted with their fallen nature. That's why so many people hate the gospel and hate Christ. Because with Christ, you can't come with excuses, or you can't relieve yourself, you can't escape, you have to face things. So, knowing that worldlings are unstable in the long run, And they all are clinging onto this ontological security, which can only be maintained at the expense of people that are worse off than them. That means that deep down, worldlings are okay with organized victimization, as long as they can justify their participation by blaming the victim. If the victim is to blame, because the victim is too dumb, or too stupid, or if the victim should have known better, or if the victim asked for it, if they can blame the victim collectively, that would absolve them, at least what they think, from all responsibility and all obligation. And that means they can use that to ease their own mind and sleep good at night and continue whatever they're doing without ever being challenged. This is the core motivation of worldlings for complying with evil. The majority of conspiracies that happen in human history have nothing to do with political power or with making money. That's what you see in movies, just so that the public get excited to watch the movie. In real life, conspiracies and also demonic plots, 99% of the time are not involved about political power. It's not even related to political power, nor financial gain. It's all about the public avoiding being challenged. They want this ontological security, this psychological identity. They want it. For example, why are so many people against mass migration? Why? Because they grew up a certain way. Their grandparents, parents, their ancestors till a few generations back grew up a certain way. And they have their ontological security being an extension of how their ancestors lived. And now you have other people coming in who don't share this ancestral heritage. So what happens is that there's a conflict because they identify with this ancestral heritage by seeing others around them who are similar. That has become their ontological security. So let's say if a lot of migrants come in, but all those migrants adapt to their worldview. In that case, there won't be any problem. But if there are migrants coming in who remain independent of their worldview, remember, they all believe in this worldview, the people that live over there. So this worldview has to be presented as real. The only way this worldview can be presented as real is if those who don't comply with the worldview suffer loss. That validates them holding onto the worldview. But what if you have a lot of migrants who don't hold on to that common worldview and they succeed in life anyway? It's going to show that their worldview is based on nothing. And this is going to be a big challenge people don't want. So is it really about politics? Is it really about finances? It's not about finances. Because there are many domestic individuals who are exploiting and harming them. Think about corrupt politicians. Think about corrupt businessmen. Think about corporations who are draining them. But I never complain about that. But I do complain if someone with a different skin color, someone with a different religion, or someone with a different view comes in and doesn't, adapt to how they do things. Why is this? Because it's all about ontological security. People want an established identity so they are stable on the inside. Their psychological stability depends on this external identity that is gratified over and over again. And for this to work, everyone must get along with the narrative. If you don't fit the narrative, you are a threat because you expose that the narrative is artificial and there is no actual realistic basis behind it. Again, people don't want to be challenged. And because they don't want to be challenged, they want to put what is called boundaries on the community. Boundaries on individuals. Boundaries are restrictions you put on others to control them. So society works to control. They bind you to restrictions. This is what we call boundaries or enforcing boundaries. And if you refuse to be bound, they turn on you. You are put in prison, or you get a fine, or you are put on a blacklist, people avoid you, you end up homeless, whatever. So you either get along with the narrative, or else there's something bad happened to you. And it's your fault when we allow something bad to happen to you, or when we do things to you, because you should know that if we get upset, something bad happens. But look at this. If an individual would act in such a narcissistic way, they would call it out saying, hey, this is narcissism, cut it out. But when the group acts this way, for some reason they have a right to do it. So society is hiding the collective narcissism of the community. Society is a mechanism to cover up the narcissistic tendencies of the crowd. So for society to work, there must be spells in place to bind the people. Boundaries are spells you put on others to have a grip over them. So, for society to work, people must hold on to the restrictions. And if there's anyone there that questions the restrictions, they have to be dealt with. And at some point, adults realize that, you know what, we don't want to look into things. If we look into things, we need to face things. So, let's pretend that this thing is real, and let's fight everyone who doesn't comply with our pretending. So if people are about to turn on you, don't think they will turn on you just because they want to get your money, or just because they want to get your wife or your husband, or they just want to prove you wrong. All those things may be a motivation to some, but in general, if people are about to turn on you, it's because you are a threat to their ontological security. You are a threat to the illusion of a stable identity they're holding on to. And that's all they have, because they don't serve their Heavenly Father. So, the Truman Show is revealing how willing the masses are to comply with lying, hoaxing, and even conspiracies. Because if the public would tell the director, hold on, we quit this. We're going to tell Truman the truth, and this is going to be over. They could have stopped any time. Why did it continue? Because there was an identity in place for them. You guys are smart. You guys are intelligent. You see this Truman over here? He's a bit dumb. He's not that psychologically capable. That's why we need to do this. You guys are the good guys. So there's an identity in place that makes them feel good, and that not only makes them feel good, also makes them look good. And that is all you need to get worldlings to comply with a conspiracy, a hoax, or a lie. That's all you need. Offering money may make you look suspicious. Offering sexual rewards may make you look perverted. Trick them into thinking that by complying with what you're doing, they're going to have a better reputation, because they're going to have a better identity that will make them feel good and make them look good. And that's all you need. So, are the masses innocent? No, they're not. Are there innocent people out there? Yes, absolutely. Their adults were innocent. Children are innocent by default, but there also adults were innocent. But the masses being innocent? Absolutely not. So realize that the Truman Show isn't just about this Truman guy being fooled by the community around him. It's about the people willing to collaborate with fooling this guy. And it's about them being motivated by this artificial identity that they're better off than Truman, therefore they look good to others and they feel good about themselves. That's all you need. Think about Nazi Germany. I'm not going to talk too much about Nazi Germany. That's what happened in Nazi Germany. Gave people trick people into believe in an artificial identity that'll make them feel good, make them look good, and that's all you need. Well, that's it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ, and therefore realize your identity is in Christ. If your identity is anything else, that's idolatry. Be at peace.